Right, well, welcome. Succession planning is a journey, not a destination. It's about getting your business in the best shape so you can maximize its value and achieve the best return on your investment. It's an ongoing process that will require regular time and energy. It's also about planning for what-if scenarios and ensuring your business can function smoothly in your absence. Today's seminar will be broad in nature, mainly presented to give you themes to consider when undertaking your own succession plan. After this webinar, you should be able to confidently identify what succession planning is, what is involved, who potential successors can be, the process of good planning, what good planning looks like, and how long the process can generally take. Joining us today is our local ANZ branch. We're bringing a banking approach to what banks like to see when working with businesses through the succession planning. For those who don't know me, my name's Andrew Foote. Joining me today is Co-Director Brigitte Taunton. Team members, Sarah's gone home, unfortunately, but we've got Eden over here. There's a couple of team members in the audience. And from the ANZ Bank, we have Chris. Chris, there he is. Yep, Chris. Bianca's not here today. We've got Kirsty, Vic, and Richard. Need it written down, eh? Yeah. Right. Well, it's succession planning. Okay. It is what will happen to your business when you ultimately decide that you want out. Racing out the door there. Now, there are many options to consider, and certainly no cookie cutter one-size-fits-all approach. But initially, you must decide on what it is that you want from your business and the lifestyle that you plan to lead when you exit or retire. That includes when do you want out? What sort of money do you need to enjoy your desired lifestyle? Have you considered who might like to take over? Are they aware that you are thinking of them to take over? Is your potential successor ready? Are there essential skills lacking? How do we plug those gaps? Will they require grooming to assume a leadership role? Do they actually want to take over? And, can they afford to take over? The answers to those questions will help determine your succession timeline. This also allows you to work backwards to determine the actions required to achieve your ideal succession plan. The longer you have to prepare, the more likely you are to achieve your succession goals. Okay, so some stats. So family business succession plans. 25% of family business succession plans, they plan to sell. So that's selling all the family jewels. 38% will transfer management to the next generation. So not actually selling the shares or anything, they're just transferring management. 36% will transfer ownership, but not management. 30% of family businesses succeed into the second generation. 70% of family successors usually work outside of the family business first, but they go off, get some experience and come back. So currently only 15% of baby boomers, business owners globally have completed a succession plan, despite the fact that this year, in 2023, baby boomers will be aged between 59 and 77 years old. Another fact is that 60% of family business owners expect their business will be retained in the family at the conclusion of their succession process. Okay, planning for the worst. What would happen to your business if a sudden event left you incapable of running it? Could your team operate without you? Would your clients or customers be affected? Would the value of your business be affected? And ultimately, would your business survive? Few myths around succession that you may have heard. First myth is, how much time do you think you need to plan for your exit? 1 year is not really enough time. The Ministry of Business and Innovation and Employment recommends allowing 2 years for a well-prepared business owner with a strategic plan and a business which is in good shape. 3 to 4 years for a family business owner looking to pass on to some form of professional management. 3 to 5 years for a knowledge-based business owner needing to pass on knowledge to managers or a successor. And 5+ years for a family business owner looking to pass on to the next generation. So the more time that you have for planning and implementation, the better. To achieve increased value that is sustainable, you generally need at least 2 to 3 years. Second myth, families very rarely have the same expectations. Often a parent assumes a child wants to take over, or conversely, the child assumes it's there for the taking, when they may not be adequately equipped.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so second myth, families very rarely have the same expectations. Often a parent assumes a child wants to take over, or conversely, the child assumes it's theirs for the taking, where they may not be fully equipped. Everyone must be on the same page, or relationships can be affected. So conversations really must start early. Final myth, how much money will you need to sustain your current lifestyle in the future? Don't forget to consider inflation and rising health costs. So right now, you're probably seeing a lot of that inflation. Probably thinking, how much do I need to retire? Okay, so we must plan to ensure you get enough value from the sale of your business to provide for your lifestyle in the future if you haven't already got that tucked away. Okay, reasons that can't happen overnight. So why is a year not enough time? You can sell a house in just a few months, right? Not a business. You need time to get the business in order so that you can extract the maximum value. You may have personal assets tied up in the business or other things that can take time to untangle from the business so that it is clear what you're selling. You may decide you're ready, but the current market may be weak. You might struggle to find a suitable buyer. It can take time to attract the right successor. More importantly, if you take some time to capitalize on the opportunities in your business, you can achieve a better payoff. It's about packaging your business as neatly as possible. Another consideration is how many of your business processes are documented, or is this knowledge inside your head? You need time to document and transfer this knowledge to ensure a smooth transition. So generally 6 options for succession. Firstly, generational succession. That's succession to your children or other family members. Option 2, selling the business on the open market with a transitional period. So i.e. you're staying on to support the purchaser. Or 3, selling the business on the open market, remaining as a consultant for a period after. 4, you have management buyout. You're selling to a current manager or a group of employees. Or 5, you transition to a new recruit. It's we recruit a new manager or employee with the vision to eventually sell to them. 6, you're ceasing to trade and liquidating the business asset. Each of these options have different planning requirements and timelines, so it's important to identify your ideal options early in the process. Okay, your potential buyers. Potential buyers are generally family members, competitor, supplier, a business in a similar market, an employee, or first time into business. It's important to consider your target successors. Who will be the best fit for your business? Identifying your potential buyers now will allow you to focus your efforts during the planning process. Whether you need to start training a family member or a team member to take over, or start networking with the right people. Family businesses. Passing on a business to the next generation may seem like the best and easiest option. However, it does raise its own set of potential issues. Is it really the best option for the business? Have you given serious consideration to any other options? Is there someone in the family who actually wants to take over the business? Is the person capable or the right person? What happens if more than one person wants to take over? Have you had an open family conversation with everyone discussing the future of the business? Has everyone had an opportunity to voice their opinions and feelings? Some general considerations. It's great to be in a position to give your loved ones a business opportunity, but if you disregarded the family connection, would you identify the proposed successor as a capable leader? What are their weaknesses, and how could these be managed throughout the process so they become capable? Maybe they'll require formal training outside of the business before they're ready. Will passing down to the next generation affect the value you achieve? How much can your successor afford to put into the business? Will you need to leave some equity in the business? Are you ready to relinquish control? Do you trust your child to make leadership decisions? There can only be one leader, and you don't want to strain the relationship. Family succession does not mean you can take shortcuts. In fact, following correct process is even more important. Use independent advisors to ensure the plan is fair to everyone, and all involved are accountable throughout the process. Having a shareholders agreement covering what-if scenarios can help protect the business. Clearly defined roles in an organisation chart also be vital as you transition. It's not just about you. While succession is a lot about you, you must also consider the business as a whole. Will the successor continue to support your team in the way that you have? how can you minimize risk for them throughout the process? And are all employee benefits documented in employment agreements? Now's the time to put processes in place to protect your employees. After all, they are an important part of the business and will help ensure a smooth transition. Also consider your customers and how their needs must be managed throughout the transition. This can have a major impact on the price you achieve. There may also be environmental considerations that impact your decision making to ensure the right outcome for everyone involved. Process. Well, while your plan will vary depending on your time frame, the industry you're in, and who is taking over, there is a basic process to ensure you manage applicable risks and achieve a great outcome. It's important to identify what steps or projects will be particularly relevant for your succession journey and plan for when these will be completed prior to your exit. So process stage one. Stage one gets you thinking about the business, where it is now, and where you want to be when you exit. This all feeds into your initial 12-month succession plan. The first step is to define your goals, both personal and business. You need to identify what you want out of the business or the life you intend to lead afterwards. Secondly, next you must establish or revisit your vision for the business and plan for how you'll get your team on board to realizing this. Point 3, it's important to meet with your essential advisors to get independent advice on a range of issues. Point 4, there may be factors outside of your control that could influence your plan. For example, changing market trends. 5, establish the most logical succession options for your business and how you can cater for those scenarios. 6, identify potential successors or a likely profile for your successor. You must consider your ideal timeline. What age do you want to be when you retire? Work backwards from that time frame to establish when you must achieve key goals by. Then it's time to create your succession plan. We have an effective succession plan template that ensures you capture your goals and actions to achieve these. It is important that your plan is documented and accessible so you can refer to it and update as required throughout the process. So stage 2. From here on, not all steps will be relevant to every business. However, it forms a general guide of when certain actions should be undertaken. It's important to establish a process specific to your own business. So now that you have a plan, it's time to consider all of the opportunities or vulnerabilities that must be managed to get your business in the best shape to start. So getting your organisation structure right is crucial. Clearly defining roles and responsibilities in your organisation will improve efficiency, team engagement, and make your business more attractive on paper. How many hats are you currently wearing in your business? How much time do you have to work on the business, not just in it? After reviewing your organisation structure, you may identify areas of your business which may need to be restructured. Now is the time to undertake these changes so that everything is tidy prior to the start. By completing an internal due diligence, you'll be able to identify and mitigate risks before your potential buyer does during their own due diligence phase. Secondly, it's important to reality test your business and current value by using an independent valuer. This will highlight how much needs to be done to achieve your target value. Depending on your type of business, there are many things that you can do to build the value of your business prior to selling it. Financial forecasting and working on your KPIs is essential. Keep you on track to achieving your financial goals. It also allows you to paint a picture for your successor of the value they'll be gaining in the future. You'll need to have a good look at your balance sheets and consider what assets are going to be included in the sale. Can you reduce any liabilities prior to the sale? Have you given any personal guarantees for business loans, etc.? Now is a good time to look at your will, your insurance policies, make sure that these reflect the changes you're working towards. Tax planning is also important at this stage. We ensure tax requirements are carefully considered and provided for. We recommend you seek professional advice at this stage of the process so that you know what the tax implications of the sale will be. Then finally at the bottom there, number 7, now it's time to take your business to market and you've received an offer that you're happy with. Your lawyer will then need to draw up an agreement for sale and purchase of the business for both parties to sign. There'll be post-settlement and transitional requirements that must be agreed to by both parties prior to settlement so that everyone knows what to expect through a transitional phase. Right, that's enough from me. I'm going to pass on to Chris now, who's going to sort of take me through a banker's perspective. Oh. There you go.
Bang on half an hour. I know whether I can do that.
I think he was a little back and
Cool. Have a crop.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, guys. I'll give that a wee test. Going the right way. I can go both ways. Awesome. Cool. Welcome, guys. My name's Chris Briggs. I'm the Senior Manager for ANZ Business here in Pukekohe. We're certainly very thrilled to be down here and to go through this session. We know how important it is. So what we're going to do is try and do a little bit of a banker's perspective. So the first thing I'll call out is that we will cover some ground that Hunter Withers have also done. A couple of good points around that. One is that they've done a fantastic job and got the first bite at the cherry, so we're coming in after that. But the second thing is that actually some of these things deserve a couple mentions because they're that important for succession. So we will cover a bit of ground, but you should get the idea. What I'm just going to do is just quickly jump back because Hunter Withers and Andrew and Co have done a great job around this. And I thought just a bit of an intro around what we do and where we get involved, it could be a good place to start here. So as far as stage 1 goes, we like to get involved really early with our customers. We want to understand the goals, the vision, and we also want to have those initial meetings with other advisors that might be involved. We do want to be involved. We want to know the direction. Part of what we do with our customers is try and understand what they do out into the future. So it's a big part for us. Things like establishing a vision for your business. So that's actually, I was just joining the dots there. So Andrew shared about 12% of businesses are going to the 3rd generation. So that's really low. And there's a whole lot of reasons for that. But one of the big reasons is really understanding the vision for the business. And is it future-proof? You know, if you think about 3 generations, that's a business that's going to be operating for 25, 30, 40, 50 years. So that's actually a long time. A lot of businesses come and go. They become obsolete or they come and go in shorter periods. So you cannot underestimate a vision. Having a vision and then being able to future-proof that, know that your business is robust for what's ahead. So I thought I'd point that out. But sort of points 1, 2, 3, 4, we like to get involved and help out. As you go into stage 2, some of this gets a little bit more in depth around structure and things like that. And certainly your lawyers are a big part of this. They're a massive part of that. And then also your accountants, Hunter Withers would be a big part of it. We're probably less involved around structure. We realise that there's tax obligations, there's legal requirements around handovers and gifting and various things like that. So we like to understand the big picture of that we certainly don't provide advice into that space. Where we get even more involved is around points 3 and 4. So I'll try and touch on a little bit of that around sort of financial forecasting and balance sheets and the like. So that's sort of just a bit of a link as to where we kind of fit into the picture. What I'll do, so firstly around succession. So again, like we cover a little bit of old ground here, but what is it that we kind of see from a banking point of view? It is very much that no one size fits all. That's exactly the same that Andrew said 20 minutes ago. It couldn't be any more appropriate, I suppose. Every business is different. There's different balance sheet makeups, different assets. There is different views, values within the business, and then a different succession pathway that might be there as well. So we see that a lot as well. What we do know also, so time's been mentioned, it does take time. And one of the key reasons for that is because the business can take a lifetime to build, and you put your life and soul into that. And by doing that, you also have strong connections to it and strong views on what that business wants to do going forward. So you've got to give it that time to transition. So that is important to understand. Strategy before structure. So that is because that comes back to a bit of the vision, the values that you have within that business. Coming back and thinking about what are the ideal outcomes that you'd be looking for at the end. What are having that sort of bigger view before you start thinking structure really does help. Growth can be part of succession. So often succession can be mistaken for splitting up, downscaling, separating out so that mum and dad may be able to go off with a decent chunk of equity and leaving the bones of something that's more than what it was. That's often the way it's seen. But growth can be a very big part of it. Remember, the successor coming in or the new business owner coming in can bring quite a bit at times. There could be a new opportunity. If you're farming, it might actually coincide with that farm right next door. That's the opportunity that the new generation's been waiting for. But the older generation are like, I've done my time and I'm out. So just being aware that growth can very much be part of it. Fear is not always equal. That is, we see that a lot. Sometimes in terms of the right succession, you need to consider, fairness is different. It's not always equal. There's a term later on that will come across, sweat equity, which I'll try and explain. But have a little think what that might be. We can maybe ask the question a bit later on. But fear is not always equal. The bottom point is it's worth the journey though. When you see succession done well, you see you see clarity across the group. You see mums and dads that can step back out of the business, absolutely proud of the legacy that they've left behind, and actually have new goals, new focus in their life, and have the right financial stability to enjoy their time. And you've got you can have the next generation coming through with the new vigor to try and future-proof that business for the next 25 years. They bring new ideas, and they also understand the opportunity that's been given at the same time. So when you see it work well, it is really, really cool. Just a one page here looking at, so as a bank, what are we looking for? So this is an area where we very much do turn more and more to our customers around providing the right financial reporting and financial forecasting going forward. And Andrew and the team will tell you that they have noticed that over the last 2 or 3 years, that actually you guys prepare some forecasts for us, and we'll work with your numbers. And it's those sort of, that's quite, I'm sure a lot of you have probably noticed that, just making sure, the good old days, we might have sat down on the back of an envelope and done a budget right there with you. That looked good, let's stamp it, let's move on, we'll use that one. The reality is it's a bit more complex like that now, and to get true buy-in from our customers, then it is really worthwhile that you go through that exercise, almost independent of us at times. But we get very much involved and love to go into the detail with you, our bread and butter. So what are the big things that we're looking for? Andrew mentioned earlier on about assets and liabilities, what might be changing, and that's very much around what does the business look like now versus what will it look like going forward? Is there a separation of assets? Are there new assets that come in? Are we still operating as one clear business and not a lot changes, or actually are we breaking down into two divisions of a business or something like that? So understanding what assets are still on the table going forward is really, really important. Liabilities, equally important. Often we see with succession, there might be a new lending event to us. That might be the natural step simply to provide some capital for the outgoing generation. But there's also more creative ways of doing that, which might be around family debt, vendor finance or things like that, that might have more favourable terms to get the burden a little bit lower for that incoming generation. But that there has to be really well understood. From a banking perspective, the greatest surprise we ever see is when debt pops up after the fact. So we start off and we have a look at it and we do a budget, we work it all out, and we think, brilliant, we've worked it out. And then we get to the first set of financial accounts and think, oh shit, there's $1 million debt. And not to us, but elsewhere. And there's interest paying on it, and it's a bit of a surprise. That's when we have the most fun in the office when you see something like that. It doesn't happen all that often, to be fair, because the onus is also on us to be very, very clear around what does the balance sheet look like going forward. But yeah, it is important to know. Forecasts, again, what changes going forward? So on the income side, you might lose an asset out, that stays with the parents, and with that is some rent loss or some other income loss. Likewise, there could be income as well. So the new generation come in and they bring in off-farm income with it, which can actually really help the scenario and allow a bit more servicing of debt. So again, just real clarity around what will actually move from what we've got now as a business to what's coming in new. Expensive, absolutely same principle. And like I say, big one in there around any extra debt obligations, but there might be other expenses that come in. As we jump in, we'll raise a couple of examples as well on the next slide or so, but some businesses drastically change their operations to allow succession. So that might be actually foregoing a full, maybe it's a dairy farm that's operated with a 100% milk check, all the expenses, the whole business, and then it simply breaks down into a leasing arrangement where mum and dad now just have a rental. It's just a solid monthly income, but that's quite an absolute change from what it's been before. So that requires quite a bit of planning and understanding around whether that's enough to sustain everyone on both sides. So yeah, what's changing? It's a big one. Tools to assist there. So yeah, even Andrew's mentioned guarantees, family loans and the likes, but in terms of guarantees, that can be, you can have guarantees from the strength of the current generation. They may retain quite a bit of land ownership, quite a bit of security there, quite a bit of income, and they can provide that guarantee to the next generation. And when we see a guarantee, that's great. We make sure that everyone's well aware of what the obligations of guarantee are, but we can use the strength of that guarantee to put a little bit more, I suppose, debt responsibility into that next generation. So guarantees can help. In other situations, it might be worthwhile that we fully cross-guarantee a couple of groups as a means to sharing the strength across both as well. So that's kind of another way that you could look at it. All things that would be openly discussed with your lawyer as well around what those implications are, but they can be tools to actually help with succession. Family loans, you mentioned that a bit earlier on, but with family loans, the key thing there is that you can create more favourable terms. The most important thing is that family loan is well documented and that everyone is on the same page around timeframes, interest rate, if there is interest, and what actually happens if that loan gets called upon, which can happen. The older generation step out in 1 year, they want to provide that loan. 5 years, yeah, she'll be right, you have that. 2 years of retirement, man, there's more fun to be had. Like, so kind of our money, it's our loan, we underestimate it, we're having a good time, we want to have a better time, we might just call that up. the reality is it happens a lot. So just documenting that is actually a really important thing. And early inheritance. So that's a really good conversation to have with your accountants and your lawyer around gifting, essentially. So it's an option there, but there's tax implications and various things. So it does need to be well documented. Just a couple of quick examples, and I'll try not to run through these too long, but we've got two examples here. One is in the ag port space and another one in the commercial space. So what we've got here, the top one I've put an option, it's called share, I've put share farming. But what that is basically a share of operations. So anyone in dairy farming, you'd understand about contract milkers, lower order or 50-50 share milkers. That's where you can actually share operations. The benefit of that is that the incoming business owner can build their skill set. They can get the opportunity to run a business. But they can do that without the full equity commitment yet. They're not having to buy in, they can start at a smaller level. For the current business owners, that gives them the opportunity to actually own the asset, still, the bulk of the asset, maybe not livestock, but they retain some control and they can remove some day to day. So that's kind of a common stepping stone, that kind of some sort of share farming arrangement. Lease is also very common. We see that plenty of times. That's just passing more control and probably a bigger equity requirement onto the incoming business owner. And again, it frees up more time for the current business owner. They don't yet have to sell. They might want to really retain that farming asset because of they've had it for a long time. It's in a family trust. They might even have other thoughts for it. But they are letting go more control, and actually they can create a really regular income. They no longer have to read their Fonterra emails or pay attention to what the market's doing. They just simply take their monthly check, and that's great for them. And then, of course, you move further down, and that's where you're looking at a sale. So that could be, we see a lot of in the partial space when families are looking to build succession. So, an easy example now, a lot of companies might be set up where it is so straightforward to buy shares in a company that you just gradually grow your shareholding. The new generation can come through and do that. They can start at 20%, build 10% in every 5 years, and get to a controlling share, over a good reasonable period of time. So we see a lot of that. And again, that has great benefits on both sides, as long as it's pretty well documented from the get-go on how that's going to operate. So that's a little bit in the ag and hort space. In the commercial space, for some of you there, what we've got there is the top one is management integration. So that's simply where you are bringing in a successor in to run a function of the business. They are going to build experience and they're going to prove some capability to the current owners, but it might not yet have a equity attachment to it yet. And the owner gets to retain some majority control, and they can also call it a trial period. They can see how it's going to go. But management integration can be a great way to bring someone in initially. Often that leads into a partial business sale where you're going to provide a financial stake to that person coming in. Again, it might be around, you might have a company structure or multiple companies around your business, and you can enable a share purchase on one or all parts of the business there. Second step would be, after that, would be that related party, that incoming business owner coming through, they can then move to a full sale. And that allows some business continuity for the owners. Third party sale at the bottom, so that's just completely, what's the benefit of that? That's just open market, true market value realised. Okay, so that makes it very good. What I'll do here, just for, again, conscious of time, but I'll touch on this for 1 minute. What we notice around when a job is well done, very simple. We're running over current ground here, but developing plans early, getting onto it early, making sure that the current business owner's needs are understood. That is the most important thing. They are the business owners right now. Making sure the family's all on one page, that we have complete clarity around what everyone's expectations are, that we're getting great professional advice, so you can be safe in that, here with Hunter Withers or ourselves. So, safe and professional advice. That you've got, that you're realistic about the wealth and scale within the business, that you can make that, you know, succession and have a pathway. That is quite important. What goes wrong, or what doesn't help it, is if we avoid, you know, the next generation is going to sort that out. It could be generosity in favour of your own personal well-being or personal happiness. Happens a lot for parents that have poured their heart and soul maybe into a farming business, and they've grown up on that farm and they don't want so much more. That's, you know, when you go to retire and you farm for 40 years, you don't want for a lot more. So you think, I can actually take it easy. I don't need much. I'm happy. But the reality is that generosity can hamstring if you're not careful. So it's just important that is understood. Maybe it's not economically viable. It's just not big enough to split in two and divvy out. You know, it's just got to be realistic about that. Favourable treatment without the acceptance of others. So that's, you know, that could be, that can be common. It happens a lot. Mixed messages on timing or the plan, poor communication are two very similar ones. Sweat equity, undervaluing sweat equity. So, did anyone work out what sweat equity was over the last few minutes? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sweat equity is just basically effort that's gone into the business without being compensated by money, essentially by being paid for it. So again, could be really common in farming, but in a lot of other businesses, if someone will work for a business for 15 years, and to make that work, you know, the son or the daughter works for 15 years, and they just get paid a wage, a standard wage to do that whole time. But their weekend, their evenings, the effort that they put into the business can be far greater than your average wage worker along the way. And they do that because they live and breathe that business as a future owner. They really do that. So that's something that's got to be understood by all parties at that 15-year mark, when the two other family members come back from overseas, different jobs, all that sort of stuff, and then it just gets divvied up into three ways. You know, someone's going to call that out and say, is that right? You know, so that is something that that will be looked at. Yeah, you've got to be aware of. So those are some things going well, things that might challenge it. Summary, nothing new there, nothing new at all. Getting onto it early, clear strategy. Great little bullet point 3 is a great little one. You want to pass on an asset, not a liability. That's the big thing. Probably a good take home. We're all here to help. We've got a fantastic and absolutely awesome succession planning resource called Path for Backing. It was written in 2013, and for the life of me, I've got no idea why we haven't updated it, because it's really cool. But if you forego like the odd stat that Andrew pulled out, that's 9 years old, it's actually really, really accurate. It's really cool. It's got some good stuff, and we're more than welcome to share that link after it. Well, that's it. A little bit of a banker's perspective.